some of you may know, and a lot of you may not. Recently, I became homeless, along with my 72-year-old mother and my 17-year-old son. The city of Sanford decided to take my house. They didn't take it due to back taxes. They didn't take it due to that eminent domain. They declared it a nuisance and didn't give me time to clean up what needed to be cleaned up, even though that entailed my mom taking out a $2,000 loan, and which I used to get a tractor and a dumpster. Began to clean up the mess that some homeless people that lived on what I guess is school property adjacent to mine, and a woman that lived in the trailer thing that I had on my property for a few months, and basically refused to leave, and they buried trash in the ground. And another gentleman who I thought was a friend, who stayed on my property for, well, since somewhere around the middle of 2019. His kids and my kids grew up together. He got into drugs. He left and stayed in a women's shelter. Not last winter, the winter before. And was gone, and then he just came back and wouldn't help, wouldn't clean, wouldn't do nothing. Just, but he's like a brother, so I had been telling him he needed to go and try to do it as politely as I could. He wasn't paying, so I had unhooked his lights that he had in the pop-up trailer a long time ago, a couple of years ago. He lived in the dark. Some people can do that. Can't do that when you got a mom that needs an oxygen machine and a kid that needs, internet and whatnot. So I try to be nice to him. And finally everybody left. And that's when I got the tractor. And I was already trying to clean up before I got the tractor. But it was what happened leading up to getting the tractor was the fact that the pop-up camper that the brother, friend, person was staying in caught on fire and melted the siding on my house. And the town, of course, they didn't know if the fire department didn't know if he was in the trailer and had been, burned alive, because we didn't know where he was. So they brought a excavator down from the city garage and spread it all over the backyard. So obviously it needed to be cleaned up with a bucket and on a skid steer. And so I did that, or attempted to do all that. I did fill the dumpster. They did come and get it. And so I was in the process of redoing the bathroom, changing the shower. A friend who was going to move into the house, who paid 2 months rent, 3 months rent in advance. This was back in, wintertime. They were getting kicked out of their place, and they had let me stay in their house back probably 10 years ago. And for the winter, so I was out of the cold. And so I didn't want to see them have to go in a shelter and be homeless when, well, in 2023, November 8th, I lost my daughter in a car accident in New Hampshire. And her boyfriend, who killed her for all intents and purposes, went back to wherever he's from and been left to kind of pick up the pieces. And so anyways, after my daughter passed away and my friends were going to be homeless, being in their 50s and 60s, the basement was, no longer my daughter's bedroom, so it would have been, perfect for them, and they would have an entrance and an exit in the basement, so they could park in the back and come and go as they please. Obviously, share the kitchen. So Danuta, she's from somewhere in Ukraine or Poland or wherever, and her boyfriend, husband, whatever, he went and spent some time in the top floor of the hospital, needing some attention to his mental status. And they'd already paid to move in, so she decided to help with the bathroom. So she spent about $7,000 on shower head, tile cutter, mortar, all the plastic, just spacers, everything, the Schluter kit, everything needed to put in a shower. And probably 2 or 3 days after she did all of that, maybe a week, and James, they weren't out of their apartment yet, but James came home from the hospital, and I was out door dashing one night, and James called me to tell me that Danuta had passed away. And of course, you don't should take something like that seriously, but I thought he was joking, because he said she's gone. He didn't say she died. He said they knew it was gone, and I was like, yeah, right. You pulling my chain. And he's like, no, she just died, stopped breathing. And so I finished what I was doing, and I rushed back to their house that they were soon to move out of, and be there for him. And then we went and got I don't know, he went to the hospital. He was in there for a little while, and he came out just in time to, well, he actually was in the hospital during the court appearance for his eviction, and I went to the court because he hadn't properly been served because, well, nobody served him. He was in the hospital. So nobody knew he was in the hospital. So I went to the court and spoke to the judge and let the judge know, and spoke to the lawyer of the landlord and spoke to the landlord, and the landlord, gave us a certain time to get the stuff out, and James got out just in time for that, and we went and got literally there was only like 2 or 3 days left in that process, and I'd already started packing. So then we went and got a U-Haul, and on the way back from the U-Haul place, I said to him, but before we went there, I said, do you want to get your car? So that way, I'll have the U-Haul, you drive your car. So he got his car, and then he went to the hospital and was in the hospital, the whole time while I was packing his truck, and he did manage to get a storage unit for his stuff and a U-Haul on the same day. So basically, I was left to finish packing and load the U-Haul and move all his stuff while he went to deal with his girl just died. I get it. So I packed his stuff, had some friends, I had to pay some friends out of my own pocket to get his stuff into storage. And then he got out, and he met some other girl, and he went to Biddeford. It's a town not far from where we live, here in good old Sanford, Maine, the butthole of the United States. It's hell. It's Hotel California. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. As I left. I think 2015, and I came back July 15th-ish of 2019 to take care of my biological father in the house that I just lost, to this fabulous city that we live in. And I've been, like I said, here in hell. Lost my daughter. It's been a rough. I lost both of my grandmother and grandfather on both sides, my mom and dad's side. I lost my dad. I lost my stepdad. I lost my brother. I lost my uncle. And in 2023, I lost my daughter. And yeah, now I lost my house, and I have moved all of my stuff into storage along with James's stuff, and I'm trying to consolidate it all into. Yeah, I've been paying $300 for the 2 storage units with James's stuff, and of course I have some of my stuff in here, all the stuff for the bathroom remodel that thankfully I didn't do because the city took it, the house. And yeah, so I I'm blown away by, all of this, how all this can happen, the society that we live in, and I'm homeless now, and I was traveling between the 2 towns we have here. They're like twin towns, Springville and Sanford. And I couldn't say how people treat the homeless because now I'm homeless, but they throw eggs at us. They drive by and holler at us. Me myself, I don't do drugs. I've never done anything other than smoke weed. I don't drink. I quit drinking when I was 21. Imagine that. I was married for 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days. I have a beautiful son who's going to be 27 in November. And I have an awesome 17-year-old who's in his last year of high school. And thankfully, due to a federal law, despite the fact that he lives in the adjacent state of New Hampshire with his brother at my ex-wife's house, whom I divorced like 25 years ago, he gets to still go to the Sanford High School. They pick him up, bring him to school, and then they bring him home and drop him off. And yeah, I don't get to see him. I don't have a car. Got in a car accident on June 20th of this year. Totaled my mother's car, the car that I was driving for, DoorDash and Uber and trying to make money and keep afloat. And yeah, so like I said, back to James. He met a girl and went to Biddeford. He ended up totaling the car that he and Danuta, who passed away, had shared. And he became homeless, and that happened probably 3, 4, 5 months ago. But even before that, he hasn't paid a penny on the storage. I've been paying it, and I have my stuff in there. So, I can't, lose, stuff that I've moved out of the house to redo the bathroom into the storage, and all the building materials and supplies to redo the bathroom that never got done, and I ended up just putting back in the single stall shower. Which was part of the thing the city code enforcement officer said needed to be done by September 6th, which was on a Saturday. And so I called him, obviously, on Monday to say, hey, the 6th was on a Saturday. You said this stuff needed to be done. I needed you to come back and do an inspection. Which he said, oh yeah, well, we served you with 20 days or 21 days to be out of the house. And did you get that? And I said, yeah, I didn't understand what it was, because you told me, if this stuff was done on this list by the 6th, you would not put a condemned, uninhabitable, unlivable sticker on the front of the house. That we would just, continue dealing with the stuff in the outside in the yard that needed to be cleaned up. And so I'm calling you to, and he's like, yeah, well, we need to meet on Thursday. It would be, a couple days later. 3 days later. To discuss the 21-day paper, and, well, we'll schedule an inspection. It's like, okay. So come Thursday at 2:30, me and a friend walked from my house to the city hall where the 2 police officers that were present, which I didn't understand what they were there for, wouldn't let my friend in the room, and he'd been one, helping me do yard work and reinstall the shower that was in before decided to do the renovation and put the tile shower in. And clean up the remnants of the fire that happened in the backyard, which was obviously set on purpose. Just as to who said it, I guess we'll never know. The person that lived in it supposedly admitted that they said it. I don't know. So at the meeting at the city hall, I was told that they were going to go forward with the abatement. There wasn't going to be no inspection. And that everything I had done was too late and not enough. And which made no sense, because every time the code enforcement came to the house to deal with the cleanup, or, well, for example, when they originally declared the property a nuisance, and there was a city hall meeting which I went to and the neighbor went to and defended me, and said that it was, not me, it was the people that wouldn't leave. And at that time, the code enforcement officer, gave me the steps to get them out, which they left on their own. I didn't need to file any eviction papers. They all left, including the guy that lived in the pop-up that was burnt to the ground. He wasn't actually even there and hadn't been there. And the day of the fire, he was there collecting some tools and taking stuff out of the trailer. the pop-up that burnt. And yeah, which, you know, why would he pull stuff out of the trailer if he didn't know it was gonna, I mean, you know, whatever, speculation. And put it all under a tarp next to my boat on the other side of my driveway. Um, and he wasn't around until that day. Everybody was gone. Anyway, so the code enforcement officer, you know, told me that he had drove by. Of course, now I know, you know, I get it. I know what's up now. He's a liar. He's a piece of shit. And yeah, he told me when he came to inspect the inside of the house, you know, he told me about the shower and needed a smoke detector, and he said if he had them in his car, he would give them to me, but he didn't have them, so he left. But then he came back like a few days or a week later or whatever it was. My son and my mother both, you know, witnessed the fact that he came back and brought 2 smoke detectors. No carbon monoxide testers. He didn't have them. He just brought 2 smoke detectors, one for upstairs and one for the living room where my mom slept. and so then the day of the meeting, Thursday, after they said they were gonna take my house, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, you guys told me how good of a job I was doing, but now everything's too little, too late, so on and so forth, and you won't do an inspection, of course. You know, I said as much, and so then I found out what the 2 police officers were there for. They said I had to be out by Monday, so they gave me a cease harassment, no trespass, permanently, as of September 25th. I mean, September 15th, 2025. And gratefully, they didn't super adhere to that, because now this was Thursday. So Friday came, Saturday came and was half over, and I wasn't able to come up with the $250 to get a U-Haul, so I had to pawn a 12-inch dual bevel chop saw that was $498 still in the box, never used, and a couple $150 each DeWalt cordless saws in the box, never used. One a worm drive and one a regular. And a Craftsman power drill, hammer drill. Big 3/4 inch beast drill. And I got the money, and a friend Jim, who's been a long time friend, brought me to get the U-Haul. And so I packed I packed Saturday and Sunday and loaded the truck at the same time, and, well, kind of, not really at the same time. There was some stuff that had to be packed to get out of the way to get to, you know, furniture and stuff. So, but I mean, I didn't have a lot of help. And the two people that did help, they pretty much packed and helped pack the entire house, pretty much. You know, it was basically a grab what you can situation, and yeah, um, Monday morning, still didn't have all the stuff in the truck, and everybody was wandering off on me, and I didn't have any help, and I was kind of, you know, with the truck 3/4 of the way full, sitting on the back, and like I'm gonna get arrested. But the police had been driving by and just kind of waving, like they didn't, you know, enforce that they had to be out by 7. But Sanford police, they, you know, sometimes they're fucking assholes, and other times they're all right. I mean, you know, if you're not a dick, then chances are they won't be a dick to you. But if you've been a dick in the past, they tend to not forget. You know, I mean, I hate cops, anyways, just because I hate the whole idea of cops. I mean, with what we have for a police nowadays, it's not like what it was when I was a kid. They're more brutal and they're more just whatever. I mean, you know, and I get it. They deal with a lot of fucked up individuals and fucked up situations, and they got a family to go home to at night too. But, you know, sometimes they're just not needed, and they stick their nose in where it don't belong sometimes. But I guess that's just fucking society and we get to live in today. But anyways, they were cool. They didn't arrest me. They let me get the rest of my stuff out. Got my boat out. And had some problems with that. I had to put a new tongue on it because the old one wasn't locking on to the trailer hitch ball, and it came off a couple times. What a pain in the ass. But a couple of friends that I've known for acquaintances, whatever, around town for many years, happened to be in the neighborhood and working in the building across the street. And they had a new tongue hitch thing, and he gave it to me to put on and helped me put it on, and I was able to move the trailer. But yeah, between the line code enforcement officer, because after they said all that and served me the paperwork, I went back in to talk to him and be like, hey, how's this? You told me that if I did this and this, yeah, you wouldn't condemn my house. And he's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, I'm like, yeah, when you came and gave me the smoke detectors, you told me by the 6th of September. And he's like, I gave you the smoke detectors when I inspected the house. I took them out of my trunk. And I'm like, this guy's gonna lie? Like, right here? Lie like this? Like, what a fucking piece of shit, dude. Like, you know. And then I find out he's Jehovah's Witness. Like, I should have fucking known. All along, I should have just known he was a fucking lying fucking cunt to begin with. I mean, a corrupt fucking piece of shit. A spineless, gutless fucking knock on your door, tell you about God, lying fucking faggot. That fucking whatever the fuck he is. I don't even. He's a piece of shit. Worthless fucking scum. Lie. He could have just told the truth and, I'd still be able to have my house. I'd get my inspection. Everything be okay. No, he had to lie. He had to be a spineless, gutless piece of shit. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much the end of my rant. But here I am, homeless. Fucking. It's rough, man. It's rough. Gotta sleep in a storage unit. With your shit. No, not shit, but your stuff. Like, on a concrete floor. It just. I don't know, it blows my mind. Feel free to leave a comment, a like, and please subscribe. And, yeah. As I always say, it can't rain all the time.